Elizabeth, open us up.
Yeah, welcome everyone to our the story of the Data Analytics Success Hub. What we wanted to do with this group is we wanted to get everybody tuned in and started to the SOAR analysis in the beginning. So this group has a little bit more time to present some of the great content that they have and answer some questions. So for those who weren't in the session, the opening session this morning where Kristin went through what a SOAR analysis is, or for those of us that need a little bit of a refresher, what we want to do here is to listen to all of the great stories and work and ideas that are being presented, and then be able to give this group some feedback on what are the strengths, what's really great about this process, what might be some opportunities, and then looking at some aspirations and results. So we'll go to the next slide in just a second, where some of these boxes are a little bit bigger and we can see some of the guiding questions more clearly. But what I wanted to point out here is this strengths being this present time and internal, opportunities thinking more right now, and external. And again, with the aspirations, that's looking toward the future, but more internal, and with results, that's looking toward the future and more external. So if that helps to guide sort of which box do you want to put your ideas in, that's great. Also, I would not worry too much about it. So if you're not sure whether something is a result or an aspiration, don't stress. Just make sure that your reflections and your ideas get on the board somewhere, and we can always do some rearranging after the fact. Brandi, if you can go to the next slide.
Sure.
And then for those who could use a little bit of prompting, here are some questions that could guide these different areas. So strengths, what are we great at? What are the great capabilities? How are we contributing to the mission? Opportunities, what's possible? How could we improve? How could we provide more value? Aspirations, what are dreams? What are wishes? What's the preferred future? And then results, what are the meaningful outcomes? So those more, what are we gonna see? How are we gonna measure it? What will that future state really look like? And so in order to facilitate you all being able to share these reflections with us, we do have an idea board that we set up. And for those who have not used an idea board before, I've put the link into the chat. And you'll see that there are our 4 boxes, our 4 SOAR boxes are already set up on that idea board. And if you press on the plus button that are next to any of those ideas, it will create a sticky note for you in that area. And you can write whatever you want to in that sticky note. And then you will also see the ability to be able to upvote on other people's sticky notes. So if somebody says something perfectly and you want to not repeat it but show agreement with it, you can then click on that sticky note and you'll see a thumbs up, and you can add a thumbs up to upvote that person's idea. And so we want to make that idea board available to you now, so that as you're listening to the presentation, if you have things that come to mind, please just start posting them on that idea board as we go along. All right, Brandi, turning it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth, and thanks for the introduction, going through kind of the SOAR methodology. Quick introduction. We are doing something a little bit different today. Rather than being the data people bringing a bunch of data, facts, and figures, we're going to tell you a story. And no great story comes together without a full cast and crew of wonderful folks contributing to it. So again, I'm Brandi Falls. I support the Data Success chapter, as well as several of the projects and services here within UTO, of which Dash is one of our new services. Kristin Kennedy is also with me today. She will be helping share about coordinating, wrangling our data, and helping to coordinate our wonderful cast and crew. And Stephen White has been orchestrating our set design and architecture for bringing the service together. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you the story of Dash and how it came to be. But I'm going to start by telling you the moral of the story. And that is the importance of having data available where you need it, how you need it. So once upon a time, there was a village, a data village. And being a very modern data village, of course, all of their data was in the clouds. And in this village, there lived all kinds of wonderful data people. There were knights and wizards, apprentices and citizens. They all had different jobs and different abilities, but they all needed data. Some needed it this way and some needed it that way. Some went here to get it and some went there, and some even created their own. But all was not well in the data village, and some of the villagers began to complain. We're tired of running to and fro, trying to gather our data, and always having different results and duplicating our work. And the king is never happy because we all give him different answers. And to make matters worse, there's no documentation. So none of us know what is in each other's calculations. And they were all very sad and frustrated with these data difficulties. And they went on like this day after day, until one day, one villager said, what if we put all of our different abilities together and made data sets that could work for all of us and put them in one place? And the villagers said, but it will be hard to build. It will have to be flexible. It will have to be strong. And it will have to be documented. But some of the villagers believed that they could do it. And their biggest question was, whatever will we call it? For some just wanted data, and some wanted analytics, and others would take whatever would help them to be more successful with their data. And they all wanted it in a single hub. I know, said the first villager. We'll call it the Data Analytics Success Hub. But that will take too long to say, said the other villagers. Well then, said the first villager, let's just call it Dash. And so they did. And the villagers all set right to work building Dash. They scrummed and they Kanbaned and they iterated. Some of them built architecture and some built logic, and still others wrote documentation. Knights worked with citizens and wizards with apprentices to build beautiful, clean data sets that could be pulled down in any way the villagers needed. For citizens, they made stock reports, and for the apprentices, they made flat files with power queries built right in. For the knights and wizards, they made sturdy data sets that could blend with ease. And all the data came from a unified source and was documented and easy to understand. And so, of course, they all lived happily ever after. So that is our story. And I hope you enjoyed our story. But you know, what's a good story without a great the making of? So here to share with you about how we built it is Stephen White. Thanks.
Thanks, Brandi. That was really fun. So it's kind of hard to follow after such a great story, but I'm just going to talk about some of the actual implementation behind the scenes so you can see how we've actually brought this to life and made it happen. And hopefully it will make a little bit more sense from an architecture perspective, especially for those of you who might be interested in participating in helping to build and share data. And also for those of you who are just looking to consume prepared data sets, just understanding a little bit about which tools you can use and how the data gets to you. So we work with subject matter experts to build what we call workflows, which are just a way of collecting data, cleaning it up, organizing it, and then placing it into different locations. And we primarily use a tool called Alteryx to do all of that business logic workflow. So this is just a simple example of what that might look like. Moving on, we have the documentation that, of course, is key part of this. Calibra is where you can find all of the documentation for any published DASH data sets. And so that's open, should be open to everyone. If you do have any trouble accessing the documentation there, let us know. We make our data sets available in multiple formats, most commonly in a table and then also as a flat file CSV. So when you're in a tool trying to consume a data set, you have some flexibility with how you want to connect and consume that data, but it's the same data refreshed at the same time, just in multiple formats. This is what the landing page currently looks like. So there are some tiles on the landing page on analytics for the different data areas. This is where you would go to explore what's available, sort of like a menu. So you can look through and try to find a data set that meets your needs. When you click on a particular data area tile, you'll then see a list of the specific data sets within that data area, along with a copy of the documentation. This documentation that you see here is the same as what's in Calibra, but it's just a nice, easy way for you to kind of browse through what's available and see if you're able to find a data set that meets your needs. Depending on which tool you prefer to use, most commonly, you would either use Excel if you're more interested in connecting from your local computer, or if you do have a BI workspace, you could use either Tableau or Report Builder and connect directly to the table. That allows you to design your own report that you could then publish and share with other people through the analytics portal. Whereas the Excel workbook would be probably a little bit more for your personal use. You could save any pivots or filters that you'd like to have, do any formatting that you'd like to have, and then you're able to refresh your Excel workbook whenever you want to get fresh data from this data set, and then do whatever you need to with your workbook. That's what we have available in terms of how you would consume a data set once you've selected the one that you want. And of course, in each of these tools, you also have the option of combining multiple data sets. So if you have some student data that you want to combine with some enrollment data or whatever the case may be, you can mix and match your data sets and combine them, blend them together in any of these tools. And there is some training documentation available on the landing page if you scroll down to the bottom. So hopefully that'll at least answer some of your basic introductory questions on how to do that. And with that,
Thanks, Stephen.
Right.
So now to introduce the real stars of our show, the data sets, it's Kristin Kennedy.
Thank you, Brandi. Welcome, everyone. As Brandi had said, with any good story, the key to a good story are the actors and the people who make up what we do. So I just wanted to talk through a couple of the examples of what we've done, and this is still early on, but we expect this list to just continue to grow as we go. So real quick, I'm just going to kind of tell you quickly about the class schedule, HR expenditure, employees list, and class roster. So the first was class schedule. And originally this was a My Reports query for anyone who's maybe used it. And a lot of people were able to go and get what they needed. But as you probably have heard, hopefully My Reports is going away. So we needed to do something. So we worked with the course scheduling office, Bill Stimpson, and he had already created some canned reports where a person could go and they could run that report and get what they needed. But what we find is most people actually just download the data from those reports. And we said, hey, let's meet people where they are. So we created some Power Query data sets, as Stephen had shown you, those CSV files, where now people can go and just get that data right into their Excel file from their desktop without having to have a BI desktop. And they can then just refresh that file every day. It gets refreshed automatically. And then they have the data that they need in the format that they need it. And then others maybe want to create web reports for their department. They wanted people They wanted to create their own departmental report with that same data that's out there and that's been created for the class scheduling office. So we created a shared data set out in Report Builder, and that allowed them to do that. And then others really wanted to dig deep into that data, maybe join it. So we created that user table as Stephen shown. And we went through and we trained everyone on all the different ways that this data could be used. So that's one example with the class schedule. The next example is HR expenditure, and everyone needs to know where they're spending money. And this data is a little bit different. It's a little bit more of summaries and pivots. And so for this, we created a Tableau dashboard, but we also made it a Tableau web authoring dashboard so that anyone could go in and write from their browser without having to have a VI desktop, could change that report and create exactly what they needed, save it, and have it for their department. We also made that data available as well in Power Query as well. So if people wanted to use that in Excel, and we also did create a table, people could use that too. The next example is one that's just coming out, an HR employee list. We've been working with the HR analytics department, and this should be released next week as far as training, where we have canned reports and we're going to have data ready in Excel. So anyone who wants to get a list of any of the active employees at ASU can go and get that data in Excel quickly and easily. And last but not least, our class roster. We know many people, this is one of our most heavily used queries. We have canned reports. We're now about to release the data ready in Excel so that you can get any class or any student to know what they're doing and have it right in Excel. It is a large data set, so we've got it broken down by term. We're also going to have that table available and allow people to create their own reports. So really quick example of just some key data sets that we couldn't do any of this without the subject matter experts. It's really a true partnership where they've built things, we do training, we just really collaborate together so that each of us can really play to our strengths, so that when people need help from them, if they want to know about the data, they go to the subject matter expert, but if they want to know about the tools and how to use it, they come to us. And so then we can each together make sure that everybody is truly living the story that Brandi told us. And so next slide, everyone here gets an award because again, we really couldn't do it without everyone, and everything we've built is really award worthy and just an awesome experience.
Thank you so much, Kristin. So Elizabeth, I think we are back to you. We have some additional resources and links in the presentation, which we can also share.
All right, so we've already got a lot of great feedback flowing into that idea board. So we just posted the link again in the chat. So please do go to that idea board now that you've heard our full presentation from our presenters, and keep those SOAR analysis ideas flowing in here. Do we have any questions for our presenters? Anything? Oh, we've already got one already. All right. So is there a data management plan which defines who can access which report, or is it all wide open to ASU employees?
A good question. Our security is currently managed by way of our existing analytics groups. So for example, if you currently have access to the admissions group in the analytics portal and you're able to view all of their reports, you also have access to the data sets that are published within their data area. And we use ServiceNow requests as usual to request access to new data areas.
Great question. Other questions, other clarifications? See some great strengths coming into here. So understanding the data, supporting innovative thinking. We have a few upvotes on that deep institutional knowledge. I think that's one of the things that stands out to me personally, is that this isn't just one group creating a set of reports or creating a set of data sets. It's really bringing the community together and bringing the subject matter experts in to be able to create resources that the rest of the community can leverage. It's a large amount of data and sources of data. For opportunities, we have learning, certifications, clear navigation. I want to hear more about the learnings and the certifications. Did anybody who had either put those in there or have some thoughts about learning and certification opportunities.
So they asked about a primary point of contact. There are any number of ways. If you go, Brandi would be your primary point of contact, but also Slack channels. We have an Ask Analytics channel. You can reach us. You can email us at analytics@asu.edu. There's a number of ways to reach us.
And we're always excited when people are interested in sharing their data and promoting it and making it more widely available. That's great.
I would say this this middle aspiration here, making university data management logical, intuitive, consistent, eliminator, like that just speaks to my heart and everything that motivated me. And I think I'll speak for the team too in really forging ahead with building Dash. There were a lot of hurdles that we've already come, and we have more to go. But that really was kind of our passion, and that might float up in our readout as far as our passion. So as y'all are continuing to fill out these wonderful stickies, in terms of the SOAR grid, out of that, we will be coming up with a synthesis. So in the open space, I believe when we walk through the gallery, we'll be talking about our next steps, our top results, or our tangible takeaway. And this will really help us inform that. Are there any key themes that anybody feels really strongly about or would like to share about coming out of here?
I see a few comments in here around security and how this could be a good way to support and build digital trust. Some of that transparency around the web page that you've already made about what's there, what data are available, being able to build on that.
Brandi, people talked about TikTok. Maybe we should make your story a TikTok video.
What did you guys think of the story format? I know it's very different for a very, sort of data-centric crowd.
People love the story.
Cool. That actually came out of some materials I dug through. I went through a training actually from one of the chief storytellers at Pixar. And he taught how they craft a story. And I thought it was a really fun exercise. And his assertion was that you can make a story out of anything. And then he challenged us to make a story out of anything. I said, all right, we can do it.
There's requests, Brandi, for puppets next time to go along with the story.
Well, Dale, I would say that, it really was a fairly democratic story. I mean, knights, wizards, common citizens, and apprentices, all working together, everybody pitching in to do something to help the whole community. I think it's not too feudal. We don't have too many serfs in there.
We have always lived by the motto of free the data. So we do our best, but also to make sure we're being secure and responsible.
Other questions or feedback?
I just had a Braveheart image of that, Dale. Free the data. Maybe we'll talk about that next time. We'll do a session on data freedom.
I think Rebecca had said for main themes that she thinks access is one of the more powerful ones. And we definitely, that goes along with free the data, but also just knowing how to get access, I think is key that we continue to work on every day.
Yeah. So I won't give away too much, but Dash is a service that we are continually, relentlessly improving. And one of the improvements we're hoping to be able to build is a way to show you when you're looking at a data set out here at Dash to see, do I have access to this already or not? So it's a teaser. So you guys are in the know. Hopefully that'll be coming soon.
All right, we have about 1 minute left. So folks, keep your SOAR ideas coming. Oh, we've got one more question. How does your team address the challenge of the complexity inherent in the data itself and also supporting stakeholder needs, i.e. single source of truth is asked for a lot, but not quite that simple? Good question, Jennifer.
It's a really good question. I would say very, very close relationships with our subject matter experts, because they're, we're just the architects. They're really the stars of being able to put this data forward. And, Stephen's done a fantastic job partnering with some of our key partners, as has Kristin, and really engaging them to make sure that we are aligning the data so that even if we don't get to a single source of the truth, we get to a very, very consistent source of the truth that can be, or a single source of the logic, right? So that can be maintained and replicated in a single place. Kristin, would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. I think we all struggle. Some of the data is very easy. It fits into nice silos. It's not always good, but when data begins to cross, like Salesforce or things, we all struggle with how to make sure. But I think we all err towards let's give access but be responsible. But I would agree.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Looks like
I want to give a big thank you to Brandi and Kristin and Stephen for this great content, all the work on Dash, and also presenting here today. And also thank you to all of our participants. Feel free to keep your SOAR analysis comments coming, and we will summarize those together for the gallery walk later. Thank you all so much.
Elizabeth, too.